Hello everyone, it's Sky here, and recently I've decided that I'm going to start recording videos on a lot of my thoughts on things because I have a lot of opinions and I don't really want to type them all out. And a lot of my opinions are going to be really unpopular, and a lot of you guys probably aren't going to like what I have to say, and I am probably going to lose a lot of friends over what I have to say. But that's honestly fine, because I'm just as entitled to my opinion as you are to yours, and I'm going to be as respectful as I can be about this. And a lot of these are just things that I think need to be talked about. So for those of you that actually care about me as a person, and for those of you that actually see the value in what I have to say, I appreciate that in advance, because I think you guys are the only people that I want to be my friends anyways. And you guys are the only people that I want to be involved with in my life, as it is. Now, you can see that I'm not wearing any makeup, and I don't have my hair done or anything, and that's because what I'm about to talk about I think is rather serious, and I don't really feel like I need to do anything about that. Because usually I only take pictures or videos of myself when I'm feeling like really confident, or like when I'm wearing makeup and I feel like I look good, and like I just don't care about any of that right now because I have other things to talk about. But anyways, on to what I actually have to say. Today I'm going to be talking about trust issues with you guys and kind of my personal experience with them. Now, I recently made a post on Facebook. I don't know which of you saw this and which of you didn't, but basically I talked about how I want people to just mind their own business and start dealing with themselves and just start worrying about themselves instead of always worrying about what I have to say. And I honestly don't think I'm asking much. I'm portraying my opinion politely and respectfully, and I'm just quite simply telling people how I want them to react to what I have to say, because it was someone that I wouldn't say close with, but someone that I respect and someone who I like as a person, so I'm not going to name their name, kind of went behind my back a little bit and like told my parents about some of the stuff I was posting, which, I wasn't like horribly bothered by or anything, but the thing was, the post that I made, seemed like really dark and kind of concerning in a way, but I honestly just liked the quote itself. I thought it was a very nice quote, and that's why I reposted it, and that's literally all it was. It was about depression and whatnot, and that's not because I personally felt depressed at the moment, because recently I've actually been taking care of myself, and I've actually been feeling good, and I've been feeling better about myself. I have been very depressed in the past, but currently, as of right now, I'm feeling pretty good about things, and I'm trying to remain positive, and it's going well for me. So literally, all it was I liked the quote. And if this person would have asked me what the quote was about, they would have known that, so they wouldn't have even had to talk to my parents or anything, because they would have actually known what the quote was supposed to be about. And so I dealt with this person, I talked to them, and everything got worked out, so I really don't need to worry about that anymore. But basically, while we were talking, they were like, oh, just be honest with your parents, just tell them what's going on, your parents love you, you know. Yes, I do know that my parents love me, and I love my parents too, but the thing is, a lot of events have happened within my family that have kind of damaged our structure as a family, and have damaged our unity, and have pushed all of us away from each other. Like, the trust level in my family is just not there. Like, it's not normal. It's really not. But I'm working on fixing that, and so far it is going well, and it's actually getting better, and I really don't want it interfered with. And this person's like, oh, well, just stop posting your deepest thoughts on Facebook. No, that's not the point. My Facebook is my place to express myself, and that's where I feel safe talking about my views on things. And you know what that does by going behind my back and talking to my parents? That takes control away from me, and that makes me feel less safe about myself. I am not a naturally anxious person. I am not a naturally anxious person. I don't have anxiety attacks. I don't wake up every day and I'm not super anxious. I'm not really, I guess, afraid of much. I just kind of go through like a normal person. Like, I'm really balanced when it comes to that. And so for something to actually give me anxiety, it has to be really, really bad. And when this person went kind of, I don't want to say behind my back, because that makes it sound a lot worse than it actually was. This person did this because they were actually looking out for me, and they were concerned about me, and I appreciate that, but they just didn't handle it right, in my opinion. But anyways, for something to actually give me anxiety, it has to be pretty bad, and I had really bad anxiety from that, and so that was not okay. And you know what that did? That pushed me away from my parents. That sets me back to where I was before, that sets me back in place, that gets rid of some of the progress that I've worked for, and I really did not appreciate that. And so I'm hoping that people won't do this to me anymore, and that people will just mind their own business and just ask me about what my posts mean instead of telling other people about them without knowing what they are. I want to be able to talk to my parents. I want to be able to. I really do. But for so many years at a time, I couldn't even talk to my parents about my day without, like, freaking out over it. Because I obviously have very different tastes than my parents. I like completely different music. I like to live a completely different lifestyle. I am not the same person as my parents. I am, in fact, very opposite of both of my parents. And that's okay. But because of that, I was afraid to talk to them because a lot of the times they would judge me for things. And I'm not going to go into detail about that because that could be incriminating to them and I don't want to make them look bad. But anyways, there have been a lot of things that have happened from everyone's behalf in my family that have damaged our structure and damaged our unity and pushed us all away from each other. And so it's taking me a long time to, like, finally build back up to that. I can't just be honest with them. I can't just tell them everything. Honestly, me being honest completely with my parents and telling them about every detail of my life would be like trying to climb to the 50th floor of a one-story building. There's no structure there, and it's not going to happen because it's just not possible. The only way it's going to happen is if I get ripped off the ground and dropped in midair. You know what that does for me? That doesn't do anything good because the only thing that awaits after that is injury or death. And of course, that's not actually going to happen to me, but that's how I feel. I'm just not comfortable talking to my parents, and I shouldn't feel pressured to yet. Because one day I will be able to talk to them comfortably and freely, and believe me, I'm looking forward to that day, but that day just isn't now. Because of the things that have happened that have damaged my family structure, I just need to build up myself, I need to work on that myself, and I need to gradually pull myself out of that rut and build 50 floors onto my building before I can go to the 50th floor of that building. And this is kind of straying from the subject of trust issues, but the thing is, like, there's a certain amount of people that I trust. Like, this person's like they said, they're just like, oh, just be honest or whatever, and it's just like, you don't understand what I'm going through. You're not in my shoes. You don't live with my parents. You see them completely differently than I do. Not a lot of people would understand how this is, and a lot of you would understand what this is. One of my best friends who I talked to about this, and who I felt so much better for talking to, is going through the exact same, almost, scenario that I'm going through. Her scenario is obviously different with her parents, but the way she feels is just like how I feel with my parents. And so I appreciate those of you who understand what I'm saying and can actually relate to me, because some of you can't, and it's really infuriating that you expect me to just be open with my parents and just talk about everything, or anyone. I have a small circle of people that I'm comfortable talking with, and sometimes these people that are, like, going and telling my parents this, like, they're not, like, in my circle. Like, if I want help, if I need help, I will come to you. Like, it's not your job to, like, look after me. If you're not my counselor, you're not my therapist, it's not your job to make sure I'm okay. And it's especially not your job to make sure if I'm okay if you're not even talking to me first. Because one thing that annoys me is that one of my posts can mean something to me that might have a completely different meaning to you. For example, I just liked the quote, and that's why I reposted it. But then this person thought that I was getting suicidal or really depressed again, which I'm not currently. Thank you. But the thing is, one post can mean something completely different to one person than it can for another, which, just a really nice quote to me, can really be something really deep and meaningful to one person. But just because you see it differently doesn't mean that your way is correct, or that's the only way you see it, you know? So next time, what I want people to do, not just for me, but for everyone, is instead of talking to people or authority figures and trying to, like, save them or, like, help them in a way, talk to the person themselves. Find out from them what their post means. You do not know what their posts mean to them unless they tell you what it means to them. I post my things on my Facebook to express myself, and I post things that I like, and I want people to interpret it in their own way, but then I want them to either take that with them and interpret it in their own way, or if it's something that they have a problem with or something that makes them concerned about me, I want them to talk to me about it so that we can get onto the same level. Because I don't want one person thinking that my post is something that it's not, you know? It's like, some things, interpret it in your own way. If it seems like it's something serious, then talk to me and, like, find out from me what it is before you go and tell anybody else about it. And that's really all I have to say about that. Basically, the point I'm trying to make is that if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone, you shouldn't feel pressure to talk to them. You need to, like, work yourself into that, and when you feel comfortable talking to someone, then you can talk to them. But you shouldn't try to pressure people to talking into someone. Just because somebody's your parent, just because they're your friend, just because they're your relative, doesn't mean that they automatically get the right to hear everything you have to say. Like, your mind and your thoughts are yours to share with those who you want to. And I share them on Facebook, because I have my friends on Facebook, which are people that I don't mind seeing them. And, you know, some of them might not be people that I know personally, but that's kind of why it doesn't bother me, because they don't know my life situation. They're not going to care what I have to say, to be honest. And there's some people that, like, I do know personally that are also very close to my parents, but I'm okay with them seeing my views because I didn't think that it would be a problem to begin with. I didn't think that they would be talking to my parents about things. I'm a pretty self-reliant person, so if I need help and I know that I need help, I will get it. But if I don't need it and I know that I don't need it and I can handle myself, then I'm going to handle myself. And it's not your job or your place to tell me what I need and what I should do, because that has to be up to me. And so, the thing is, like, I have a lot of trust issues with a lot of people, not just my parents, it's a lot of people that I don't feel comfortable, like, talking to and opening up to. And the reason I post things on Facebook is because that way, if I wanted people to see, I could show it to them without having to say it directly to them, because that's just not within my comfort zone. And then this person, another point they made, they were like, oh, you're talking like you want a face-to-face conversation. It's just like, no, you're not getting what I have to say. I said that I don't want a face-to-face conversation, and that's why I'm posting it here, so that way if I wanted to show it to certain people, which there's a lot of people that I don't want to show it to, then I could, but I wouldn't have to actually say it to them myself, because I'm just not ready to do that yet, and I think that's fine. If you're not ready to say something, then it's totally fine if you want to write it down. Like, I know that a lot of people, if there's something that they're too afraid to tell somebody in person, or that they're not comfortable telling to somebody in person, they'll write a letter, or they'll, like, make a post about it and have somebody else show it to them, and I think that's a good thing. If that's what helps you cope with it, and if that's what helps you reach your comfort zone, then that's something that you should be doing, and that's not something that anybody else should interfere with. It's not something anyone else understands unless you want them to understand it, and that's just how it is. But anyways, that's kind of everything I had to cover on this issue. It was basically something that's happened a few times that I want to stop happening to everyone, not just me, but to everyone. And this is kind of my insight on, like, how I trust people and, like, some people that I don't trust. And the point I'm trying to make, basically, is that if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone, it is no one else's job to talk to them about you or to try to pressure you into talking to them. You have to feel comfortable talking to somebody on your own first. And that's all I have to say on this issue. So, with that, I will end this video here, and I'll have a lot more of these to come, because I have a lot of opinions on a lot of things, and a lot of them I have a lot more opinions than I had on this. This is a personal issue to me that I understand a lot of people are also dealing with, and so that's why I'm talking about it, because I want to express my side and my dealings with it, but I also want it to be relatable to other people, and for other people to apply it to their lives, or just for other people to understand what people are going through. Like, your life isn't someone else's. Just because you're feeling a certain way doesn't mean someone else is feeling the same way about that. Just because you reacted to a scenario doesn't mean that somebody else is going to react the same way. If you haven't walked in somebody's shoes, then you have no place to judge them or to assume that you know about them. That's all I have to say.